Andy Serkis is famed as the guy to go to when you need an actor to play a creature using performance capture technology. He wowed audiences around the world when he played Gollum in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and again when mimicking simians in King Kong, as well as in the role of Supreme Leader Snoke in Star Wars The Force Awakens and most recently Caesar in War for the Planet of the Apes. So it's a bit of a turn-up that the 53-year-old's directorial debut, Breathe, starring Andrew Garfield and Claire Foy, is a character-driven film about a man paralyzed by polio. Yes, I think people have been surprised that this is my directorial debut, and there has been a lot made of that, says Serkis of the film that opened the London Film Festival. But he says that this is more a result of a quirk in the film production process than by design. Jungle Book, we shot beforehand, but that will come out next year. The reason is because his adaptation of the Rudyard Kipling's novel, which stars Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett and Benedict Cumberbatch, mixes live-action sequences with performance capture technology, and consequently, the post-production process is extraordinarily long, and so when Disney managed to release their live-action version first, it was decided to delay Serkis' version until 2018. Serkis has now directed Breathe and Jungle Book, which is out in 2018. Laurie Sparham. Nonetheless, despite it being a period drama, it's also true to say that Breathe may never have been made if it wasn't for Serkis' enthusiasm for performance capture technology. Breathe is inspired by the true story of the parents of the Bridget Jones producer Jonathan Cavendish, who formed a company, Imaginarium, with Serkis in 2011. Cavendish's father Robin was paralyzed from the neck down after contracting polio in Kenya in the late 1950s when his wife Diana was pregnant. The film shows how Robin and his family coped with paralysis and how he helped change the way that polio sufferers could live by asking his band of eccentric friends to come up with inventions to enable him to leave hospital and live life at home. Serkis met Cavendish in 2009, just after he had completed filming King Kong, by which time he had realized that there was a gap in the market for a UK-based performance capture studio. In 2007, after the success of Lord of the Rings, Serkis was approached by Cambridge-based video games designers Ninja Theory to direct performance capture sequences for their flagship game Heavenly Sword. When it came to shooting the sequences that we rehearsed, there was nowhere to shoot it, so rather ridiculously, I had to take the whole team to New Zealand, says Serkis. I came out of this experience thinking this is crazy, especially as the technology, software and cameras were all made in Oxford and Cambridge. Garfield as Robin, Cavendish with Claire Foy as his wife Diana in romantic bliss before he is paralyzed in Breathe. A friend suggested that Serkis meet with Cavendish. I had been looking at the market and it seemed to me that TV, film, games, virtual reality and artificial intelligence were moving closer together and visual storytelling was going to change, says Cavendish. And then of course Andy was world leader in performance capture. At first, most of the jobs came about because people wanted Serkis to be the performance capture actor in their films or wanted to ask his advice on how it should be done. Serkis gave advice to Mark Ruffalo when he was preparing to play Incredible Hulk in Avengers 2 by telling him to wear weights to get a sense of the bulk of Hulk and changing his voice and having him play with his digital avatar so he knew what his digital avatar looked like as he was prancing around in a digital costume. He also consulted on Godzilla and Star Wars. The big advantage of shooting creatures using humans is that it helps the other actors on set, says Serkis. Peter Jackson fully understood the notion of how can you expect an actor to act and give a real performance. It's impossible. In a way they then have to act two characters, themselves and what they are acting against. Serkis Center in War for the Planet of the Apes. I ask Serkis if it is odd that he has become famous for playing characters masked by digital effects. He argues that he doesn't see a difference between performance capture and traditional acting. You work in the same way as you do on a traditional set, all that is different is that you're dressed in a digital costume and the makeup happens after, says the actor. You are on set for 6 months and you are the guardian of the character. Performance capture is not fixing something in post, you have to get the performance on the day. Born and raised in Middlesex, his mother was English and his father an Iraqi gynecologist of Armenian descent. Serkis says in hindsight that perhaps he was destined for a career where performance capture would be a big component, even if it was an unconscious decision. It can all sort of make sense now, he says. Because I went to Lancaster University to study visual arts and I ended up constructing a degree which is called theater design and movement. I did a production of Raymond Briggs' The Tin Pot 4 in general and The Old Iron Woman which was done with puppetry and movement, and performance capture seemed like an extension of what I was doing. Serkis in motion caption as Supreme Leader Snoke in Star Wars The Force Awakens. Cavendish had wanted to tell the story of his parents for a long time. He commissioned William Nicholson to write the screenplay of Breathe and then showed it to Serkis, having now worked together for a number of years and built not just a studio for performance capture, but also a separate production company. I would have let many people direct it, says Cavendish. But I knew that Andy would direct it brilliantly, and he has an experience of disability with his sister suffering from multiple sclerosis and his mother taught disabled children. And then, when we were in post-production on Jungle Book, both Garfield and Foy became available and we had a small window of opportunity, that created a mad rush to raise the £8.7 million budget for the film. Despite being the world leader in performance capture, Serkis' name meant very little as the director of a period drama, especially as Jungle Book kept on being delayed. Tim Haslam of Embankment Films, who provides financing solutions for films, explained their conundrum. Serkis is a well-known actor, but he was still notionally a debut director. This was in April 2016. By the time the Cannes Film Festival had finished in May, the film had been funded and would shoot in the summer. Serkis had something to occupy his creative mind through the Jungle Book delays. These are the type of problems and issues that Serkis will have to start getting used to, as he sees his immediate future as being behind the camera, rather than in front of the camera. He wants to direct a performance capture version of George Orwell's Animal Farm and also turn The Beggar's Opera into the first performance capture musical. But he insists that Breathe will not be an anomaly and that he will also make films that do not rely on the technology he has become famous for. In the near future, the concentration will be more on the directing. The wheels are oiled now. Breathe is out on the 27th of October. More about Andy Serkis' Breathe reuse content.